Good morning. I'm Cathy Hayward, Clerk to the Committee. Good morning. It's now 10:30 and welcome to this virtual meeting of the Licensing Sub Committee to hear the application for Wavy Line 174 Croydon Road, Beddington, CRO 4PJ. Could I ask, when you're not speaking, you turn your microphone off, as you will appear on the screen as the microphone picks up the sound, and it will stop the stream cutting to you unexpectedly. The meeting is being streamed on YouTube for members of the public to view. I will read the names and roles of the attendees. Could I ask you to turn on your mic and camera and indicate you are present when I read your name? For members of the panel, could I also ask you to declare any interests when I read your name? The panel, Councillor Catherine Gray.
Hello. Good morning. I'm in no declarations of interest.
Thank you. Councillor Marlene Heron.
I'm here and I've got no declarations of interest to declare.
Thank you. Councillor Jake Short.
I'm here and no declarations of interest.
And the legal advisor to the panel, Guy Bishop.
I'm here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Licensing officer, Hannah Smith.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. The applicant, Mr. Sivanga.
Hello, I'm Swarthan Shankar.
Thank you. The applicant's agent, Mr. Chris Knight, Nixon, sorry.
Good morning, Cathy. Yes, I'm here.
And Mr. John Milton.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you.
My name is John Milton.
Thank you. The responsible authority, Mr. Richard O'Dell, Environmental Protection Officer.
Hello, Cathy, I'm here.
Thank you. The panel are here to listen to those making representations, the applicant, the agent, officers, and what they have to say, and then to take a decision about granting of a licence application. Agenda item 2, election of the chair for the duration of the meeting. Could I ask a member of the panel to propose a chair for this meeting and for another to second that?
I propose Councillor Short.
I'll second Councillor Short.
Thank you. So Councillor Jake Short, could you continue through the agenda? Sorry, Councillor Jake Short's elected as the chair. Could you continue through the agenda starting on agenda item 3, please, Councillor Short?
Okay, thank you, Cathy. As this is a virtual meeting, could I ask that firstly, when you speak for the first time, please state your name clearly before you begin. Councillors, if you could introduce yourselves with your title and name. Other attendees, could you state your name and role, please? You don't need to do this every time you speak, but it will help if you do it the first time. Members of the panel, if you want to raise a point during the meeting, please use the chat box found on the top right of the screen, where you can type question during the meeting, and I'll be monitoring as we go along. At this hearing, there'll be no cross-examination allowed. All questions would be asked via the chair. And there were no declarations of interest mentioned by members of the committee, so I'd like to move on to agenda item 4, which is the application for a variation to existing premises license held in respect to the premises known as Wavy Line 194 Croydon Road, Beddington. The applicant and those who've made valid representations will have received the procedure for the subcommittee, I'm assuming. Could I therefore ask Hannah Smith, Licensing Officer, to present the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, my name is Hannah Smith from the licensing team. Today we have, in relation to an existing premises licence, they're looking at doing a full variation, and that's for Wavy Line 174 Croydon Road, Beddington, CR04PJ. This was made on the 26th of May 2020 by Night Training UK Limited, acting as agent for Mr. Sivasanga. The application is seeking a variation to the existing licence to extend the hours for late night refreshment and the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises. This was also to include the removal of certain existing conditions and add new conditions in relation to deliveries. The late night refreshment is going to be every day from 11 o'clock till 5 AM. and the supply of alcohol off the premises will be every day from 8 a.m. till 3 a.m. Please note the premises currently benefits from a licence that authorises the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises Monday to Saturday 8 a.m. to 11 and on Sunday 10 a.m. until 10:30. The relevant pages of this application form are attached on Appendix 1 and the current premises licence is attached on Appendix 2. The proposed hours of operation are laid out on Appendix 3. I can confirm the application was advertised by way of poster displayed at the premises and by a local advert within the local newspaper. The application was also advertised on the council's website. I can confirm that all responsible authorities received copies of this application. Trading Standards and Sutton's local Safeguarding Children Board initially raised concerns, but following consultation with the applicant and the agent, there was some changes to the operating schedule. These amendments are shown within Appendix 8. The Council's Pollution Control Team, as a responsible authority for the prevention of public nuisance, has raised a representation which is attached on Appendix 4. Photographs of the premises and a map showing of the location of the premises are on Appendix 5 and 6. In considering this application, the committee is required to take into account the Secretary of State's guidance under Section 182 of the Licensing Act and its own statement of licensing policy. Relevant paragraphs are attached on Appendix 7. If the application is to be granted, the applicant has proposed a number of additional measures to promote the licensing objectives. These measures, which could be attached to the licence as conditions, are laid out in Appendix 8. I will happily answer any conditions should you have any.
Do members of the panel have any questions for the licensing officer?
Not from Councillor Marlene Heron, not from me, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Gray?
Councillor Gray, no, not for me at the moment, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Could I ask the applicant or the applicant's agent to provide their submission to the subcommittee, please? You'll have up to 15 minutes to speak.
Good morning, councillors. I'm Chris Nixon, representative for the applicant, and I will be presenting the opening statement for the application before deferring any subsequent questions to my colleague, Mr. John Milton, also representative for the applicant. We'll start with a thank you for this remote hearing. We're glad to join you this morning. Your licensing officer has provided a very helpful report. So just to clarify, this is an application for a variation of an existing premises license. Details of specifics of the variation I've already presented to you, therefore I'll not go through these again. However, we are happy to take any questions you may have on these. As you are already aware, and as per the officer's report, we currently have only one outstanding objection from Environmental Health, and the other objections received from your Safeguarding Children Board and Trading Standards officers respectively have been withdrawn following mediation. No objections have been received from any local residents. For some background on the premises, they have enjoyed successful trading of 8 years with no prior incidents having taken place and as a licensed premises. As we have not received any objections from local residents, we cannot understand the environmental health objection, and we ask that this committee grant the license in full as applied for and subject to the additional conditions agreed with Trading Standards as shown in Appendix 8. As mentioned earlier, we will happily take any questions you may have, which my colleague will now answer. That concludes our opening statement. Thank you, councillors.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nixon. Councillor Gray has dropped out of the meeting, so would it be advisable, Kathy, if we adjourn briefly until she's able to rejoin us?
Yes, we
Okay.
need to adjourn. Just if you could just give us a minute, they'll restart the stream.
Okay.
Yes, we're live again now. Thank you.
Okay. Apologies for that. Could I just ask, do members of the panel have any questions for the applicant? And Councillor Gray, would you be okay for us to continue? Would you rather hear anything that you might have missed from the applicant?
What are you thinking? When he started speaking, it totally cut out from me, so I've missed all the time. So I'm not quite sure it could be said again. I'm sorry, I don't. It just
that's okay.
Connection lost, and it was. So.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Could I'm looking to Guy here. Could we? Are we permitted to request the applicant read their statement again?
Absolutely, yes, of course. Hopefully that will be relatively easy.
Yeah. Mr. Nixon, would you be okay to read that statement again, just for the benefit of Councillor Gray?
Of course, Chair, yeah, not a problem. My experience currently with remote hearings, I take the precaution of writing these in advance. So yeah, not a problem. So I am Chris Nixon, representative for the applicant, and I'll be presenting the opening statement for the application before deferring any subsequent questions to my colleague, Mr. John Milton, also representative for the applicant. And I just said that I will start with a thank you for this remote hearing, and we are glad to join you this morning. Your licensing officer has provided a very helpful report. So just to clarify, this is an application for a variation of an existing premises license. Details of the specifics of the variation have already been presented to you. Therefore, I will not go through these again. However, we are happy to take any questions you may have on these. As you're already aware, we currently have only one outstanding objection from Environmental Health, and the only other objections received from your Safeguarding Children Board and Trading Standards officers, respectively, have been withdrawn following mediation. No objections have been received from any local residents. For some background on the premises, they have enjoyed successful trading of 8 years with no prior incident having ever taken place, and as a licensed premises. As we have not received any objections from local residents, we cannot understand the environmental health objection, and we ask that this committee grant the license in full, as applied for, and subject to the additional conditions agreed with trading standards as shown in Appendix 8. As mentioned earlier, we will happily take any questions you may have, which my colleague, Mr. John Milton, will now answer. Thank you, councillors. That concludes our opening statement.
Okay, thank you. Do members of the panel have any questions for the applicant?
Councillor Marlene Heron, I'd like to ask the applicant what sort of delivery mechanisms they will be using for this late night deliveries, and what type of delivery agents will the cafe be using, please?
My name is John Milton. I need to refer this question back to Mr. Chris Nixon.
Chris Nixon, actually, councillors, I think this question is probably more appropriately answered by my client. Siva, if you're there, could you answer the councillor's question? Just to clarify, though, Councillor Heron, the premises is not a cafe, it is a convenience store.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry for my error there.
No problem. Siva, are you okay to answer the councillor's question on the delivery vehicles?
Hi there, councillors. Thank you for your time and your question. So currently, we are working and we've really finished a website which has a mobile automated interface where payments and everything is taken. We are only delivering on card basis, so no cash will be taken on delivery. And also, as advised by trading standards, we will take on the measures of checking everything that's appropriate in delivering the goods. Secondly, there would be no agents used. We have internal staff who are qualified to drive, who will be working in a multi-purpose way, whereby they will be working in store and only be delivering as needed. Thank you.
Okay, could I come in on that briefly? Could I just...
I mean, sorry, Guy Bishop, legal advisor. Can you just clarify if it's going to be a bike or it's going to be a car, or you know, how it's going to be delivered? How many of staff are available to deliver?
Hello, councillors again. It will be a car, and we currently are expecting to have 3 working staff during the evening period and during the day as well.
Okay, that answers my question as well. On a separate note, I note that you're applying for the supply of alcohol up until 3 AM, but late night refreshment up until 5 AM. How do you intend to limit the sale of alcohol during that 2-hour gap between 3 AM and 5 AM?
My name's John Milton, the legal representative. During the hours between, obviously, the hours of 3 o'clock in the morning and the hours that the open time allows, which is 8 o'clock, the areas where the alcohol, because it's a convenience store, it will have a grilled section where the alcohol is locked away, so it actually cannot be bought if they came into the store, whatever, in the same way as it would work in Tesco's or any of the other major outlets that have 24 hours.
Okay, so it won't be on display or visible to be seen by people who are ordering between those hours, just so that I'm clear.
Well, I mean, obviously it's got grills, so it would be on, you could see it, but it will not be for sale. In other words, you know the way it works in the Tesco's, the alcohol's still there, but it's covered with a grill.
Okay, and have you had...
Sorry, Guy Bishop, legal advisor again. Sorry, just again to clarify to help the committee. I'm assuming that I mean, obviously the important thing here is the late night sales of alcohol as well. But I'm assuming that what your website will do is stop taking orders of alcohol after 3. But let's say somebody makes an order just before 3. What's going to happen then?
I need to refer this back to the client, but I would assume that if it's before 3 and it's within the time, then the delivery would go with it. But I must refer you back to the client. The client may decide to have a shut-up point earlier. So if Silver can actually speak to you on that.
Chair and the councillor, so just to refer to the first point, so as advised by John, not just the girdle, but the shutter will be pulled down from the fridge, which extends from the top, which actually does enable no one else to see the products inside. And second to that, in regards to orders coming in online, so the platform has a service where, regardless of what time an order is placed, it has to be confirmed in acceptance of the products being in stock, whereas if we are acceptable in accepting the order in general. So going back to the question about after the time when we're allowed to supply, we will simply just reject.
Okay. On that note, could I ask what conversations you've had with the police, local safer neighbourhood team, particularly around sort of the safety of your staff? I'm just thinking in that during that late night period where you've got, once the pubs in the area have closed, you may have quite a few punters coming over the road, determined to get another drink, as it were. What precautionary measures and what sort of safety measures are being taken to protect both those using the using your shop and your staff at the same time?
My name is John Milton. The pub, as you will see, closes significantly earlier than, according to the application, significantly earlier than the application for off sales. One would also think, I don't know what the local area, whether people would want to go to other places to have more drinks, but it would operate the same way, once again, as I mentioned before, as a Tesco's 24-hour or whatever 24-hour works. But I will refer you back to Chris, Night Training Services, to see if there have been any other measures put in.
Councillors, Chris Nixon, representative for the applicant. Yes, in terms of, Chair, you mentioned the consultation with the police. Yes, we consulted with the relevant officer prior to submission of the application, Tracy, for memory. And we did discuss safety of the staff. You will note in terms of the proposed conditions agreed with trading standards, we will provide staff training to ensure that staff are properly briefed on how to handle customers, especially late at night, and the police were satisfied with these precautions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions for the applicant?
I have a question there.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Gray.
Thank you. Can I ask what type of night that you're being at the premises, please?
Chris Nixon, I'm sorry, Councillor, you broke up there. I did not hear the
apologies,
question.
sorry, I'll repeat it. Can I ask what type of late night refreshment are going to, please?
I completely lost the sound.
So Father Councillor Gray has typed into the chat that a question, which is what type of late night refreshments will be provided?
Again, I need to pass you back to the applicant to describe the late night refreshment.
Hi, Councillor. Thank you for your question. So as advised, we are also being approved to have an in-house oven for hot food. So in terms of refreshments that we are looking to supply, it will just be simply as paninis and pizzas for the time being. Thank you.
Okay, are there any further questions? I'll take that as no. Could I therefore ask Richard Odell, the Environmental Protection Officer, who has made a valid representation from responsible authorities, to provide your submission to the committee? There should be an expansion on the details that you've included in your letter rather than additional points, and you'll have up to 15 minutes as well.
Thank you, Chair. Richard Odell from Pollution Control at the Environmental Health Department of London Borough of Sutton. Can I take this opportunity to refresh the committee's memory and perhaps knowledge of the area? So could I direct people to the location plan, Appendix 5, page 49. I hope everyone has got there. It scrolls down quite a way, I'm afraid, but let's assume that everyone can see that now. We have the red dot in the centre of the plan where that denotes the premises wavy line. And you'll see that wavy line is on the eastern end of a short parade of shops with a sort of service road lay-by in front of it. Now, above those parade of shops is 2 floors of flats, with the flat located immediately above the premises and obviously to the side and heading towards the west. I have been informed, if my memory serves me right, which doesn't always work, but my memory serves me right, that the applicant is in occupation of the flat immediately above the premises, but the council can't control that, and that could change at any time the applicant chooses to do so. So if you look at the area, so next door to wavy lines, leading up Bridges Lane, which heads north, the nearest, it's the start of a exclusively residential road, and they're mainly sort of 3-bed semi-type properties. And the first property, as I said, next door, has a bedroom window about 30 feet from the premises. Across the road, across Bridges Lane, you've got 172 Croydon Road, and then the continuation of residential houses. And again, that property is about 90 feet away. Across the road heading south, again, you've got a sort of a mirror image of the residential properties, finishing at 153 Croydon Road. And again, that's obviously a nice direct line of sight to the premises, and that's about 130 feet away. And then leading to the left of that, you've got this sort of a crescent of a shopping parade, a little bit similar to the one that Wavy Lines is on, with 2 floors of residential amenity above. And they're about 120 feet away at the nearest point. You see in the small island to the left there, you've got the Plough Public House. So what you've got here is you've got an area that has some commercial activity, 1 public house, but is predominantly and dominated by residential amenity. Now, I'm not saying that this is a quiet, sleepy backwater of Sutton. After all, there is a road running through it. But at night, after 11, 12, 1 o'clock, background noise levels are expected to drop quite notably. And the character of the area will be very different from full daytime use. All shops will be shut. The pub is licensed to open or to trade until midnight, except for Friday and Saturday, where it's trades till 1. There's a Chinese restaurant and a kebab shop, which again is licensed till midnight. So after midnight, perhaps 1 o'clock on a Friday, Saturday night when the pub is busy, there will be minimal footfall. There will be movements of vehicles, of course. That will reduce as time goes by throughout the night. And residents will be expected that. That will be their expected makeup of the area, their character of the area. So there'll be very little reason for vehicles to stop and start. Very few comings and goings, just people passing through in vehicles on their way to somewhere else. So with the introduction of effectively an open all hours shop with lights blaring, lights on, obviously they want to attract passing trade, not only the people who've seen them on their website and who are familiar that they're open, like maybe taxi drivers and delivery drivers, but they want to attract new customers, and therefore lights will be on. It will be open. It should be obviously open. If I would want it to be obvious open, it was my premises to be seen. Now, if you know the area, then you may wish to try to park in that service yard, service road, lay-by, whatever you wish to call it, immediately in front. If there is parking spaces available, I don't know what the provision is at night. But wherever you would park, you'll be parking underneath flats. If you didn't know the area and you were approaching it, say, from the west, from Carshalton, then you would almost certainly miss that first turning into that service area, and you would probably see these lights on that corner, out the corner of your eye, and you may swing down into Bridges Lane or park up outside the first sort of row of houses in Croydon Road from 172 onwards. So again, you'd be parking outside houses. If you're approaching it from the east, from the Sutton, from the Croydon direction, again, you're more likely to see it. You've got a better line of angle of view, and again, you may well wish to swing past it and around into the service lane, or you may just park up opposite on the southern side of the road and then wander across. Again, you'll be outside flats. So these comings and goings, which are to be encouraged by the premises because they are trade, will change the perception of the area. There will be an unavoidable degree of impact from some of those activities, not all, but some of those activities. And I think that that is an impact which needs to be carefully considered by the committee, because once it's agreed, should they get to this variation, then it is very difficult for controls to be managed. If a customer is creating noise from, say, playing music in a car, talking loudly in a mobile phone immediately outside the premises, then there's a reasonable expectation that the manager will try to seek some intervention, although there are clear health and safety concerns about approaching somebody at 2 o'clock, 3, 4 in the morning. If they were parked slightly away, they may not even know that this is happening, and therefore, who can control it? So that is my concern. If this was granted, there could be an impact upon the public nuisance licensing objectives. You're talking about deliveries, and delivery seems to be a large part of the conversation so far in this hearing. And again, if the premises was just doing deliveries and it was closed to members of the public, then we may be able to get some and maybe have a bit more of a relaxed attitude. But I would wish for those deliveries to be made by electric vehicle only. And I like confirmation of how many vehicles would be based there. But there is some scope there. But if it's open to the public after 11 o'clock, then I would have serious concerns about the impact upon public nuisance. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Do members of the panel have any questions for Mr. Odell? I assume that's a no. Okay. In which case, I would like to invite the committee to retire to make our decision, and the full decision will be provided to the applicant and those who've made a representation within 5 days. A brief decision notice will be emailed to the applicant as soon as possible, and the minutes of the meeting will be added to the website in due course. Thank you all for attending the meeting. I'd therefore like to close it at 11:06 a.m. Thank you.